Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 5:30 p.m. City Council work session regarding Colorado Main Street program. And I'm going to turn this over to Kimberly to invite our guests and kind of kick this off for us, if you don't mind. And
Thank you, Mayor.
if I should call on someone else, let me know.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for being here. We're really excited about the Main Street program coming back to Woodland Park. Dola is on the Zoom with us today to present to you guys, just to kind of recap what Main Street is, what we hope to accomplish with it. Anita is the staff liaison, so she will be managing most of this as we go through this evening. After Dola presents during the regular council meeting, Anita will be presenting a little bit more about what we accomplished as a city prior and what we hope to accomplish during our next reinvention of this. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Dola, for being here. And I can kick it over to either Tracy or Gail. I'm not sure which one of them is going to be main, but Tracy and Gail are both from Dola. They are amazing. They have been with us every step of the way as we start this back up. And we're very appreciative for them being here this evening with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, we're letting some slides get up. While the slides are coming up, I just want to say we've all been there. My internet is really spotty and I've lost it about 15 times today. So if I get kicked off or I freeze, it's not for any reason other than technical issues. So Tracy's going to share her screen. She can keep running forward if I have to hop off and hop back on. So it's so great to be back and see all the folks interested in Woodland Park again about the capability of wanting to rejoin our program. And I think Todd Leopold was going to hop in for just a minute as well. He is your regional manager. We will go to the next screen and I'll do a quick introduction for those new folks that maybe don't know who I am. We have now a staff of 4 supporting the statewide Colorado Main Street program. I am Gail Langley. I spent a lot of time in Woodland Park many years ago and have been with DOLA for about 8.5 years. And before that, I was a Main Street manager. So I'm very sensitive and understand trying to start a program, or restart a program in Woodland Park and what it takes to get that off the ground. And as was mentioned earlier, we will be with you guys every step of this journey. Larry Lucas is our Main Street architect. He's not on the call tonight, but I know he is wonderfully able to help business owners with all kinds of things from floor planning to historic preservation assistance to facade improvements, signage, and his services are free of charge. And he sends his apologies for not being here this evening. Tracy.
Hello, everyone. Tracy Stoffel, Main Street Specialist. I've been here at the Department of Local Affairs for over 6 years now. Prior to that, I was with the Statewide Historic Prior to that, I was with the Colorado Municipal League for 13 years. Before that, I was with the Statewide Historic Preservation nonprofit Colorado Preservation, Inc. So I've been around preservation, downtowns, and everything for a long time, and just really happy to be working more directly with communities on their downtowns. My counterpart is Matt Gordon. He is our newest member of the team. I think he's been here for about 5 months now. He's an economic development specialist out of most recently with Lone Tree, but prior to that, he was also a Main Street manager out in Brush. And again, just unable to join us tonight, but is just a wonderful addition to our team. We're so thrilled to have him on staff.
So what we're going to do is cover a little bit. I think you skipped a slide there real quick. We're just to do some basics and a refresher. But before we get started, I just want to say we want this to be a conversation with you guys. I know we've got slides and we're presenting and we're sorry we could not be there in person. I just got back from Cripple Creek late this afternoon. But please interrupt us. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear why you're going back on this wonderful journey of bringing the community alongside the government. So how this whole thing got started was back in 1980 when people were moving to suburbia. Malls were going up, and our wonderful historic downtowns were becoming in disrepair. And because of this, it all started with preservation. The National Trust for Historic Preservation started the Main Street Center, which is now called the National Program, Main Street America. And it was founded to kind of preserve our history, our culture, our heritage in all of these wonderful, priceless places across the nation. And here in Colorado, we are so honored and thrilled to have 27 official communities today that are doing that in their communities. And we only support rural communities, which means communities under 50,000. And that's our mission, that's our strategic goals, and that is our plan. And as many of you are familiar with DOLA, we are housed within the community development of the Department of Local Affairs. So just a real quick slide, we're going to do a recap of the framework of Main Street and how this all works together in tandem, as the circle represents on the right, not working in silos, but working together to make a better downtown. So I'm going to cover organization. So this really, really means, and it all comes down to community-led. It means the municipality, the partners, the business owners, the residents, all working together in tandem on shared visions, and quite often looking at shared visions in terms of fiscal reality. Because it all really starts with your comprehensive plan. You guys are the stewards of your town. All of the services that you provide in the infrastructure, it really is based on what is the city's goals here for what you want to see Woodland Park today, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years down the road. So it all aligns with your goals on how you can harness the energy of the various partners that we're going to talk about, working together in tandem and very collaboratively. So I know you guys are working on looking and taking applications and talking to folks about the different partners and maybe developing a board or a steering committee, whatever you may want to call it. But these represent the different organizations in your communities that are the movers and shakers. They are the ones that have vested interest in their particular piece of being a part, an integral part of your community. Your chamber is an integral part. Realtors, economic development folks, I think you have that from the county level, and I know you have that now at the city level. Your civic organizations often have a charter that they really want to give back in different ways. And I tapped into civic organizations a lot when I was a Main Street manager. And we don't want to underestimate your history, your culture, and your heritage. Preserving and restoring those wonderful buildings as we drove through Woodland Park and saw the wonderful downtown that you have, that much traffic was coming through. That's a challenge for you guys. And other organizations that we've been talking to Kimberly and Anita and Kelly, about what other folks are in your community that really have a passion for wanting to contribute. And your building and business owners are your lifeblood of your downtown. And we're seeing some trends since the pandemic spiked and all of the ARPA money and funding went away to kind of support some reactivation of our downtowns. We're seeing some things that don't look good. And that is 99% of the businesses around Colorado are small businesses, and they are the lifeblood of our rural communities. That is what creates the vibrancy in your downtown. And you have some wonderful businesses, and your building owners are the stewards of the buildings, wanting to keep those in great repair so that they have their history and heritage to share with generations to come. And your residents, those are the ones that live there. Many of them work there, maybe some of them commute. So many outdoor recreational activities for folks to really enjoy the quality of life of what you guys have in Woodland Park. And then how? It all starts with really taking a look at the downtown comprehensive plan that you guys have. And I know that's been done in the last at least 4 years. Or recently anyway. It's not that old. in terms of taking the Main Street team or board and really focusing their efforts on what you want to have accomplished and giving them an opportunity to harness the energy of the people that want to volunteer their time, their treasures, and their talents to making Woodland Park even better than what it is today. So what we do and how we like to really start with people that are really interested in entering the program is to set you off on a really good footing. And that is to help you develop a strategic plan that aligns with your goals. And we can do that for you through our consulting services. And I kind of have you slated for sometime this fiscal year, which runs through June 30th, to take advantage of that free of service charge that we offer to you. And it really is going to also dive into a work plan that I can't underestimate the value of a work plan, of really taking those top priorities and breaking it down into projects, looking at the capacity of your volunteers and the Main Street manager and those that are participating in the program, and keeping it manageable so you keep these people engaged and enthusiastic about continuing the work. So we kind of changed up our strategic plans. You know, we've all seen plans and a lot of people roll their eyes. But what we've really done in the last few years, since we really took a look at the effectiveness and empowerment of this program, is we will provide to you a 2-page strategic plan that quite often has pointed out in it things from the comprehensive plan that Main Street is going to work on. But having a 2-page strategic plan allows not only the program, but the city to focus that outward to the community and message what this program is working on, what it is doing, what is their mission, what is their vision, and what are the top priorities that are set for the next year or two. And the reason this is so important to keep it succinct is people might take 3 or 4 minutes to read this plan, but very rarely are they going to read a 40-page strategic plan. So it's getting that message, that identity, because we also help with branding that Tracy's going to talk about here in a minute. It's really keeping those things first and foremost about how you're moving the dial, and then messaging those accomplishments that's going to be talked about a little bit later on in the city council meeting. So before we go to design, let's take I feel like I'm talking. We want to hear from you. And I'm really curious. I had a question to pose back to the folks sitting around the table about, I'm absolutely thrilled you're back at the table. And I'd really like to know what maybe prompted this, or what kind of spurred you wanting to take another look at Main Street.
Anyone else? Anyone want to go? Want to have anything to share?
Yeah,
George?
Gail, this is George Jones. I think, it's interesting. We've been talking about Main Street behind the scenes. We've been talking about Main Street behind the scenes for a while. And I think in my mind anyway, a lot of what spurred this on is more around the economic development. We have historical preservation. And I'm fearful of historical preservation, by the way, but as a building owner, but certainly the economic development was a key element for me.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
I kind of have wanted to rekindle Main Street. I was around on the council and staff when we had a Main Street program before. And we received our designation, and I think we were headed in a pretty good direction. And then it kind of fell apart, and we decided to take a break and then reapproach it, maybe in a different fashion. And so I'm hoping that we can do that and leave the past in the past and take some steps forward and see what we can do to complement what we're already doing with our Downtown Development Authority and different organizations and the grants that were given by the DDA, the mini grants, and just kind of that stimulus, see what we can add to that and complement with this program as well. Because I think DDA and Main Street and the Chamber all have different functions and different roles. And in my opinion, I think in order for that to work, I think we all have to learn to get together and identify our strengths and then work together to make it all better and
Yeah,
all
well said.
wonderful.
Yeah, well said. That's a great point. This is George again. The idea that I think at the time when Main Street paused or went away, we weren't associated with the city anymore. The Main Street organization was no longer associated with the city. So there, there was kind of a disconnect. And I love the idea that it's back under the city's purview. So that I think is a great thing. And that was an attractant for me as well.
I would agree, George. All right. Anyone else have anything to share with them?
Those were great comments. I really wanted to hear that, and thanks for sharing. We're thrilled to have you back at the table, just so you know.
And we definitely appreciate the alignment of the municipality with the program wherever it resides. And I know you're moving forward with the municipal base, but it's something that we stress. I mean, it's so very important. Nothing can really happen without that alignment. And so we're glad that you see this as a means of keeping that aligned. I do also just want to make a quick note that if you saw me on my phone, I swear it was work related. I was texting with Todd. Apparently he's in the audience and not as a panel. He's fine with that, but he is joining us and listening in, and is certainly a great resource for Woodland Park and all of the local governments within the region. So if there's nothing else, we can move on to design. And design, the Main Street movement is grounded in preservation, as Gail mentioned it, but it's really everything that makes your downtown attractive, the walkability, accessibility, and placemaking to make Woodland Park just a place where both residents want to come down and enjoy and spend money, as well as attract visitors. We're very much about demystifying historic preservation, George. I just wanted to mention that. I know it's a frightening thing, but really the only teeth in historic preservation is at the local level, or if you take taxpayer dollars to do the preservation work, right? If you take an SHF grant, or if you leverage tax credits to do the work, we could certainly get into the economics of what good preservation can do for a community in terms of attracting heritage tourism and just having that authentic feel. But just want to rest your mind at ease in terms of, preservation is not necessarily always telling the owner what they have to do or putting restrictions on it. It's just about treating your buildings well for the future generations. If Larry were here, he would, I'm sure, say it much more eloquently than I. And here's the slide on what Larry does and offers. He tracks everything that he does for our communities and the building and business owners within those communities. And so at the end of the year, or at the end of 7 years, I think this is what kind of has come forward in terms of how he has been advising our building and business owners to help them put their best face forward to attract more people into the community and into their business in particular. Then we also work, and Larry again is certainly our point person on design, but he's certainly an architect, has that focus on the buildings themselves, but we can all provide some insight into placemaking, right? And what makes the downtown attractive and designed for people, providing those great spaces for socializing, for activity, for comfort, to have that public art that just really speaks to who Woodland Park is as a community, keeping that public space amidst all of those privately owned buildings in mind for programs and use that is people oriented to provide activity and places to rest, and the wayfinding to get people around town into your different attractions and to know where the parking is so that they can come and visit your businesses. And so we have some things, within that placemaking realm that we look at, and it's really kind of leaning into your identity. And so we love having this slide here where you can see the center slide is repurposed ski lift. And that's in Steamboat Springs because it makes sense there. Probably when it makes sense in Hugo, which is where the tailgate from a truck is made into benches there, and they have all of the different, American trucks represented. So they got the Dodge, they got the Ford, and different people stop and get their, and take pictures next to their, favorite vehicle out there. And so it's just kind of a great representation for Hugo. And then the bottom right-hand corner is Lake City, right? And where the outdoors is such an important piece. And so they have a bike rack that looks like a fish there. Other public amenities, we talk a lot about pocket parks and smart infill for your community. And sometimes that's into a public space. Sometimes it's putting a new building in a historic town. But on the left here is Central City. And this is where I believe an old building had burnt down between I think the town hall and the Belvedere Theater, where we're getting some reinvestment there. And Larry, while he's not a landscape architect, did help conceptualize what might a public space look like between these two buildings. And so he helped lay out a proposal for how that space could be used. And while it wasn't a stamp drawing, it was enough for them to go to CDOT Revitalizing Main Street when they had those grant dollars. Unfortunately, one of the many things that have been swept, in the state's fiscal woes. But they were able to pursue CDOT dollars to implement that pocket park just based off of Larry's drawings. In the center here, another fire's the bane of all existence, right? Is another space in Lamar. But this area, much like your, I think Antler Alley, connecting parking to the main street. And so it's a nice little park there, making that connection. And on the right is a pocket park, pocket park in Leadville. Zates Park, a wonderful thing. And this is where they took mini grant dollars and just over time implemented small changes over the course of time to end up with just a wonderful park that really celebrates their mining heritage. Murals are always a popular thing. Public art, we mentioned, here's the Antler Alley down in the corner. The top one is just a really long stretch of retaining wall in Rangeley, where it's celebrating all of the different outdoor activities that they enjoy up in the northwest in Colorado. Here's a detail from Zates Park celebrating their mining heritage with a burro, and it's a library where you can burrow a book. That would be Larry's dad joke. I will give credit where it is due. Again, out in Hugo, this was actually a paint by number. So an artist created the, all of the spots for the paint to go in, but then the kids and families were able to come in and fill that in and have this great mural at the end of the day. And of course, you're familiar with your own Antler Alley here. I believe this is the last slide in design. Are there any questions about this aspect of the Main Street approach?
Is Antler Alley still lit at night?
Yeah.
Cool. That was all funded through a couple of grant funds through our mini grant funds. We use this picture all the time, just so you guys know.
It needs to be finished, right?
It does,
Yeah,
yes.
there's the other end.
The other
that
end.
has to be done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
That could-
potentially,
I'm sorry.
That could be a project.
that's what I
for-
was just thinking. If you rejoin the program, that could be a project. We would love to help finish that.
Right, right. And are you guys aware, Gail and Tracy, I'm sure, Anita, that they're aware of Bergstrom Park and
Yes,
even the community gardens, right? So
yes.
there's a lot of opportunity to tie in those, I wouldn't call those pocket parks anymore, but tie in those large
Yep.
parks and stuff, working with our Parks and Rec department, I would absolutely, right?
Yeah, I believe many, many years ago, right when I first came to DOLA, I believe some of your mini grant funds were used for Bergman Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or,
Was it-
I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Yep.
Strum.
Good, that's good to know.
Excellent. Well, then promotion, right? So you have the organization in place, which is the fundamental, right? You need to really have the community input, the community drive, the partners all working together in order to achieve things, and certainly the built environment and getting that all into shape. But you want to bring people in, right? It's all about getting people in, and we mentioned it in the design aspect because it's the 4-point approach, but they don't work in silos at all, right? You know, the organization supports design, the promotion, the economic vitality. It's all about economic vitality in the end, right? You have to have the built environment in order for the businesses to be there. They all interplay with one another. And so I'm always kind of jealous. Larry usually does the design slides. I'm always kind of jealous that he gets those benches from Steamboat and the Hugo to talk about, because that's also part of promotion and the placemaking and leaning into that identity and image, both to celebrate it as a community and for your residents to feel proud and to build those special moments in their downtown, but also to attract, to attract tourists by being your authentic selves. And you can see here how this happens in some of our communities across the state. Lyons is kind of a funky hippie town, right? And so they have this cool art throughout their downtown, usually kind of more on the modern side, but just really amazing pieces of work spread throughout. And I believe they're pursuing creative district status right now as well, to really celebrate that creative aspect of their community. In the center, again, we really need to mix up our photos. I feel like we're really featuring Hugo here. Hugo celebrating, their agricultural heritage and their, blue collar community with Christmas trees made out of pallets, right? And just kind of reusing what they have on hand. And of course, Steamboat Springs, I absolutely love their logo. They worked with a local designer for that, but it really captures everything, right? Both the mountains and their agricultural heritage, as does their ski joring and their professional cowboy downhill that they have each year. Just a great way to really lean into who they are, and it really brings people in from everywhere. When we talk about promotion, we also talk about messaging and thinking about those different audiences that you want to speak to. And while you're always talking about your Main Street, what you're talking about, how you talk about it might change a little bit in terms of who you're talking with. The public, right? They want to know that they're in a place that's special, where they're creating memories and building community. Your building and business owners want to know that you're investing in their prosperity. Donors and volunteers, I frequently merge these two together, because while one's might be donating money, the other's donating, what's even more precious, time, right? In terms of, they want to know that they're making a difference with that investment of their dollars or their time, that they're a part of something greater, that they're leaving a legacy and building awareness. And, as a government, you want to know that you're, building your tax base, that you're leveraging opportunities to the best of your community's ability. And that all of these people are also voters, right? And so a happy resident, happy building owner, happy business owner is a happy voter. Certainly a part of this, but not the only thing, is events and bringing people into your downtown. And you certainly, when you were a Main Street community, had a wonderful Shop Small effort going on, and I believe it was even recognized nationally, the work that was being done in your community for that Shop Small Saturday after Black Friday. So with that, do we have any kind of questions about promotion?
Council, anything? All right. Go ahead. We're good so far.
Excellent. And as I mentioned, it really is all about economic vitality, right? The historic buildings are only so good as what's living in them, whether that's a residence or it's a business, and that's what keeps the buildings vibrant. And it's, the economic vitality, it's great. It's obviously important to the business owners, but our downtowns are that shared space where, the residents want to have that space where they can go and enjoy a meal at a local independently owned place, just as much as the business owner wants to have them come in. And so it's really about retaining your existing businesses and helping them expand, encouraging new investment and attracting new businesses, and providing, the training or connection to training and resources to help them thrive. We do a lot of work based on data-driven economic development. This past year, we provided all of our communities with a building and business inventory to help them assess those opportunities for when there are vacancies to attract new businesses into it. Taking a look at what is being leaked to other communities. And so approaching your businesses in terms of things that they might expand within their either restaurant or their retail, and say, hey, you know, people are spending this much outside of the town. If you offer it here, perhaps those dollars will stay here. Some of that's data, and then some of it's, you know, focus groups. A lot of you probably know what you leave town for or go online for, and taking a look at that, but just bringing it all together to share that information out to help your businesses make wise decisions. And of course, your demographic, who lives there, who's within the regional market, and who else you might be able to attract to your downtown. And again, with that overlap with design, it's about the real estate, right? It's about that appropriate infill. It's about the adaptive use of existing buildings. And, you know, so much we talk about nowadays is housing as well, right? And there's that power of mixed use when you have that opportunity. I don't think you have much in terms of second stories in your downtown, but you know, that was a traditional use, was having the residences on that second floor. We do look at offering, you know, the opportunity for housing perhaps behind the retail, because you really do need, you know, in Colorado, our municipalities are driven by sales tax, and so you probably don't want housing on the front, but you know, housing in the rear is another opportunity. And just really kind of taking an analytical look at the building stock that you have, the empty spaces that you have, and how that might be leveraged to the best of best and highest use. Before we move on to some of the specifics about becoming or re-becoming a Main Street in Colorado, are there any other questions about economic vitality?
And I do think, as we heard earlier from many of you, this is, and I like to call it economic vibrancy, as well as economic development or economic vitality, because really that is the goal of all these points working together. And when you're got a strong organization that's looking at design and placemaking, and you have folks really promoting, really going through Woodland Park so many times as I have, it's really trying to get people to stop and spend money at restaurants and retail. You have many wonderful establishments there, but you have the huge problem with the highway going through your community. And we have that in numerous Main Street communities. And, you know, we're always having those conversations, and some of our communities work diligently with CDOT on highway improvements or traffic calming in order to try to get people to slow down, know where to park, get out of their car, and enjoy everything that you have in your downtown.
Questions, council? Well, you have no questions so far. You're doing a great job.
Well, we're going to close with just recapping just a few benefits. We wanted to keep this pretty short so we could have a conversation and infield questions. But you're familiar from back in the day. We do offer mini grants and scholarships. Right now, with things going on in the state, we're working really diligently with the strong leadership commitment out of DOLA to continue to support the communities that are in this program. But the mini grants have you seen with Antler Alley, and I think we made some improvements to your train depot and a few other things over the years. Really using those small dollars to reinvest in your community. But we also offer scholarships to make sure that our Main Street manager, regardless of their title, of where they land within your city organization, continues to have those tools that they need to build their board and have that professional development. We offer 2 trainings per year that are required in our memorandum of understanding, and we don't want that to be a burden on any city or town, so we offer the funding for those folks to join us both at the statewide summit and also the National Now Conference, where 47 states get together. And last year, Tracy, how many was there? It was a record number of folks that attended. Like
3,000?
You know, where all Main Street managers and elected officials show up and have that 3-day high intensive opportunity to learn from each other, because you cannot, I'm going to skip over to the right side of the slide. You cannot underestimate the power of network, which you guys all know. Learning best practices, learning, and often it's learning, you know, what not to do when you're approaching a project that can be more valuable than what you actually do. One of the biggest carrots that I think we have that continues to be funded is our consulting services. And that is where we get an allocation through the long bill each year. That's where we can help you develop a strategic plan, as I showed you earlier, to really get the Main Street, have a solid foundation on how they're aligning their goals with the city and how you're harnessing the board to go out and garner volunteers to help, get projects done. You also have all 4 of us as staff. And I guarantee you, we do pick up the phone when you call. We do answer emails. We pride ourselves very highly in our customer service, as I think all of DOLA does. And we also have, as we said, Larry, our architect. We're only one of a handful of states that has architect services free of charge. And then we also, and this is where we've been really successful in the past 5 years, have been able to set you up for success on leveraging other grant opportunities. And Tracy mentioned and showed the example of the CDOT Revitalize Main Street grant that kind of got cut, unfortunately, in the budget crunch that we're in right now. But we've also set communities up with designs that they've been able to go after and get GOCO grants. They've been able to go after state historic funds. We also work and do support letters or do grant reviews, which I think is really important. I mean, you're in the thick of things, putting together a common grants application, trying to get it into the Gates Foundation, who we work very closely with. It's sometimes kind of great to have a third party person take a look at that grant and help. Tracy has a red pen and loves to use it, and help look at that through the lens of a third party and saying you might want to change this or use some of these words that align with some of the things they're looking for, because we want to set you up for success in being able to leverage opportunities and stack those to get larger projects done. Because quite often when you're looking at some of the priorities that you want to do, it's not a 1-year project. It's a 3, 5, 10-year project. And you just got to keep building on that momentum and breaking it up in pieces that you can continue to make progress on year over year. And with that, I think that's the end of our slides, because we were trying to time this to about 30 minutes. So we had plenty of time for discussion.
I do think there's one more, but it's not about benefits. So if we have any questions about the benefits, I think now's a good pausing point.
I'm seeing nothing.
Okay.
You guys are still on track.
And I think, Gail, I think you talked about much of this already, which.
Yeah, we can't emphasize enough about the small businesses that are in all of our towns. Again, they're 99% of the businesses, and that's including the big boxes. And it represents about 58 of the total cash register receipts that you see. And we had our new Matt Gordon really dive into getting some analytics around this to wrap your head around it. We are starting to see trends of, again, as businesses are starting to face some struggles after the high of the pandemic. And we need to be thinking about supporting those businesses and economic development in order to keep them thriving through this lull and through all of these changes that are currently happening. And then another thing that we really like to promote for you guys to be thinking about, and I won't get into all the details or the toolkits that we have or the guidance, it is really taking like your DDA and investing back in your community. It is shown to be catalytic. If you invest back in your community and they do facade improvements on their businesses, the businesses typically see a 20% increase in sales and increases in jobs. And it actually causes other people to say, I need to go to Sherwin-Williams and buy some cans of paint and freshen up my facade because people are going next door and not walking into my building. And it really creates a vibe, and it creates that look and feel of being fresh to people that are driving through your town, by the way, at way too high speeds. And then just a little bit about ROI, because this program wouldn't have been around since 1980 if the numbers didn't show that being part of this program, and really you do all the hard work, we're just here to support you, but getting that community to align and build that collaboration in order to get things done. And it will pay off in the end. You had great successes back in the day, and I'd like to see you come back to the table and get you back into the program to continue and pick up that momentum again and pick it up with a fresh new set of eyes and a fresh new board. That was it.
Thank you so much, ladies, Gail and Tracy. So thoughts, comments?
Yeah, this is George again. Can you talk about that $1 public equals $18 private? What does that mean?
Well, we've been doing some analysis. I'll jump in first because we do collect reinvestment statistics. It's part of, the requirements for being in the program. But what we have done through tracking through our Main Street managers, the numbers that they collect is for every dollar of private investment that goes in. Go back to that slide. Oh, we're not sharing anymore. For every dollar that the public invests in there, we show that ROI being incredible in terms. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. George, I'm losing my train of thought at this point in time. Those are numbers based on the public investment that we track and the private investment that is given back into the community. And that's what we've shown as the results in our 27 communities that we have across the state. Tracy, I'm not saying that very well. Do you want to chime in? I think I'm losing my brains today.
Sure. No, Gail, I think you did mention it. That is one of the requirements. I mean, we talked a little bit about the benefits of being a Main Street community. One of the requirements is the quarterly reports that Gail mentioned, where we do ask all of our communities to report on businesses gained and lost, jobs gained and lost, public and private investment in the downtown, events, volunteer hours. And it's kind of taking all of that and synthesizing it. And Gail, I don't think you mentioned, but I know another thing that we did to try to help kind of more independently verify that information is Gail worked with a University of Colorado Denver Masters in Urban and Regional Planning student a few years back to kind of take an exterior look at that same dollars instead of just the self-reporting to demonstrate how these small investments make a big difference in communities. And I think that's why people look at what we offer and say, well, why isn't everyone doing this? What's the catch? And I think the catch is that as Gail mentioned earlier, is the hard work happens at your level, at the local level, having that board directing volunteer efforts as well as staff efforts to move it all forward and leveraging and taking a look at ways that you can leverage these little tiny investments that we offer, because our mini grants are tiny. I mean, I'm not sure what they will be moving forward this next year, but in the past they've been calculated at $2,500 per year for our entry communities. But it's taking those and using them to go after other grants and leveraging other dollars. And that's really what it's all about, is leveraging other dollars, working strongly with your partners and other stakeholders within your community to move things forward. And it works because at the local level, you take these opportunities and make something big out of them.
Thank you, Tracy. We did some numbers back right after we were coming out of the pandemic. A couple of interesting statistics on that one as well is the Main Street program actually got a $7 million award through the Community Revitalization Grant. And we were able to grant that out to applicants, and we had 5 times the amount of money versus what we had to give out. And we had 16 communities. We revamped 95 buildings, private buildings. We were able to sub-grant. We gave the money to the city or town, and they sub-granted it out to private businesses to do things like energy efficiency improvement, facade improvements, new signage. And what we saw through that program was an $18 to 1 investment, because we gave them a lot of money, but the building owners actually were seeing other things that needed to be done, and they were investing their own money into making their building either up to code or more energy efficient. And the bottom line was, again, on the other slide, was they saw an increase in 20% in sales. And that is trackable information that we did very recently in the last few years through Main Street.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Another question, and this may be for our folks, but what does it cost to be part of Main Street?
It does not cost a thing. This is a free service to our communities. We give you grants, we give you 3 consulting. You've got the 4 of us to help you every step of the way. There's no charge for this whatsoever.
There is a 25% match to
Wow.
those teeny tiny grants, so there is
Yeah.
that. And then as we mentioned, it's kind of sweat equity, right? We do require that we have a point of contact. We always call that point of contact our Main Street manager, regardless of the title in the community. And it varies from community to community. We have a community initiatives facilitator in Ridgeway. We have a planner in Elizabeth. We have a communications in Rangeley. And so, but because the interests of Main Street and the needs of Main Street are so broad, we sometimes have meetings with our managers and they're like, well, I didn't do much Main Street. And they tell us what they did. And it's like, no, that's still very much Main Street. You did a lot of Main Street. So there's the point of contact. There's the need for the, to have a committee, an active committee, and to reflect on the community, to engage volunteers to get things done, to be in alignment with the municipality, and to attend that professional development, which is why we give you the scholarships. And and that's where we always get the question, but what's the catch? And the catch is, well, you have to do the work. We can only advise you, support you, and help you out, but the work happens locally.
And if it's again, and this is why some of our communities do so well, if it's not aligned with the city, and it really has to be, getting back to the first slides in here, what I've seen happen, not only at DOLA, but back when I was at a chamber organization running it out of Granby, and we had the Main Street program, the visitor center, and the chamber, because there's different models in the program. It's just what fits best in the community. Is I saw an added increase in trust of what was built between the elected officials and the town staff there with the business owners in the community by having community engagement meetings that talked about priorities. Because, the community a lot of times wants a lot of things, and it's not grounded in fiscal reality. So when you get together and you collaborate and you talk about, this is a priority that we have, and what is the fiscal reality of the phases of this to get it implemented, and you talk to the community and business owners about that, then they get it. And they're saying, okay, we're seeing the mural go up on the side of the chamber or visitor center building. We're seeing little things while you're working towards these bigger goals, but it really builds trust. And I can't underestimate that, because I think it's so important, because sometimes that's a real disconnect in some communities where the government and the community just aren't on the same page.
And I think just to reflect back on the return on investment, right? The catch is that we believe in these numbers and the stats here at the state, right? And that's why we're making these small investments, is because we believe that it's going to be leveraged and it's going to be of benefit to the local economy, which means it's of benefit to the state economy.
Great. No, I appreciate that. My last question, so obviously the state still has a budget shortfall. What do you think the impact is going to be for you guys?
I'll field that one, Tracy. Our consulting services right now are funded. I don't see any probable change in that at all. We're in the long bill. Our mini grants and scholarships, we've been going through a lot of discussions. I'm sure you've all seen and read and heard about the sweeps to the impact grant fund. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that. We're still going to have many grants and scholarships, but because of the budget deficits and now this special session, what we might have to do with those 5-year grant awards, and they are 5-year grant awards. And 5 years ago, we funded all 5 years at the beginning of the grant award. What we're probably, and I know we're going to have to do, is add funding to that mini grants and scholarships over time as that impact fund gets replenished and rebuilt. But I cannot tell you, we have such a commitment from the leadership of DOLA to continue to make this program successful because of the hard work that each of our current 27 communities are demonstrating. So we are going to have funding, but it might come in tranches as that gets built back up.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Anything
And
else?
I'm still waiting for a number. I should know that next week.
Anything else, council? All right. Thank you so much for everything and all the great information and sharing that with the council and the community as well. We have quite a few people in the audience as well. And we'll see you again in a bit.
And
And seven-
Anita, I just want to re-verify, I believe we saw your presentation. You're gonna have a wonderful presentation, and Gail and I will just be there in case any questions arise.
Great. Thank you
Excellent.
so
Okay,
much for being
perfect.
with us.
Thank you for reaching out to us and really taking a look at this. We're absolutely thrilled, and we would love to work with you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you so much, Gail. All right, council, we'll take a 7-minute break before our meeting begins.
This is the same Zoom link, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.